Hey everybody, I want to talk to you today about the eNPS survey, Employee Net Promoter Score, baby. This is a very critical survey tool in your surveying toolkit. I am going to do a series in the next couple weeks. We're going to talk about eNPS, engagement surveys, pulse surveys, and manager surveys, and you need a mix of all four of those to really get a clear picture of what it's going to take to drive engagement in your unique disengaged workforce situation. But so what I'm going to say today, it's not like just do eNPS and you'll be fine. No. I'm going to tell you what it is in a second, but you're going to want to listen to the other episodes too, or join my community engagement academy in the show notes where you can take a training and get a lot more deeper, richer information, including scripts on like how to have difficult discussions with executives to get them to allow you to send the survey, or, how to get them to pay attention to the results, yada, yada. But today I just want to tell you what it is and how to do it well and how to think about it in a way that's going to push your business forward and push you further in your career. So eNPS stands for Employee Net Promoter Score, and it's very similar to NPS, which your company might also do for your customers. It asks the same question every single time and it doesn't change, and it's basically the same for your customers too, but this eNPS example, which you send to your employees, it's worded a little different, but basically it's on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend our company as a place to work, with 0 being not at all likely and 10 being extremely likely, and every number in between? So this is a really critical data point where I hear sometimes companies only send this survey. And the problem with that is this is your benchmarking over time, your historical data to see how employees are feeling. Remember, engagement is highly emotional, but on the other end of understanding the emotional turmoil of your employees in their daily life is the revenue and the growth. So although it seems touchy-feely just to see how everyone's doing, it's actually a very good business tactic to make sure that your company's on track to achieve the aggressive goals that it set out to achieve. So eNPS is your best bet to get execs to start listening to you too. So I recommend sending this survey quarterly. And when things start trending downwards, or, unless you're getting a perfect score every time, which is very unlikely because the global workforce is disengaged, it's your chance to verbally spar respectfully with your executives and say, hey, I have concerns about the business I think you're going to want to know about. And instead of saying, people are quitting, or I don't think people are engaged, and, executives don't care about your hunch. But when you can say, I have data to show you that we are trending down, and this is not good for revenue or productivity, and I care about your goals and I want to help you achieve them, so let's talk. That's what's going to get them to wake up and take you seriously. I'll include a couple of screenshots in the show notes, but when you send out this survey, it's very simple to score and get your data point. It's like one of my favorite surveys because it's so easy to send and it's so straightforward. But remember, again, it's not going to tell you exactly what's wrong. It's just going to tell you how bad things generally are and that things need attention. Your other surveys like engagement, pulse, and your manager survey, those are going to give you all the nitty-gritty, juicy details into exactly who is traumatizing everyone so bad or what in the daily life is so busted. But this is the critical data point just to see over time how improvements are being made or not. So when you send out this survey, it's as simple as, when you get all the responses back and it closes, people who score 0 to 6, those are your detractors. Those people are not happy. They are actively sabotaging the business, very likely unconsciously. They don't mean to be. They're just upset. Daily life is busted. Your passives are people who score 7 to 8, and your promoters are 9 to 10. So your passives are like, meh. Your promoters are like, yeah, I like working here. I'm good. Leave me alone. To calculate your actual score, you're going to take your percent of promoters minus your percent of detractors. You're not going to factor in your passives. So you as the HR or people ops or internal comms leader, you might be curious how those buckets fall. What percent of detractors did we have? What percent of passives? What percent of promoters? But to get your actual data point, the information that the executives need, you're not going to want to probably go into that much detail. It's too much information for them. They're going to get confused. So keep it simple and just show your executives your actual eNPS score. So in this example, I'll just walk you through. Let's say you have the perfect number of 100 employees and you get 50 promoters, 30 passives, and 20 detractors. So all you do is simply take, for your percent of promoters, you take 50 divided by your total number of responses, so 100, times 100. So you get 50%. Your percent of detractors is 20 divided by the total number of responses times 100, so 20%. And then your eNPS is basically 50 minus 20, so 30. The final score you get will range anywhere from negative 100 to positive 100. There are actually 200 data points here. So negative 100 to 0 is 100, 0 to 100 is another 200. So your scale is actually a 200-point scale. The industry standard typically falls anywhere from positive 10 to positive 20. But I want to caution you not to like death spiral. If you get a super negative eNPS score, say you got like negative 100 to 0, yes, you have a significantly disengaged workforce, but this is actually kind of like a really beautiful moment for you if you think about it in the correct way, which I'm about to say. Daily life is busted and there's a lot that's wrong and yucked up in your productivity engine and people are upset, yes. But this is a chance for you to change the history of your company and like move forward in a positive direction. And either you're going to be able to advocate for more resources or you're going to be able to say to the executives, look, we have a workforce that's willing to talk to us. That means that they trust if we continue to be curious about what they need and to make daily life better, there's more revenue and productivity on the other side of this. That's a good thing. An employee who takes your survey and gives you a nasty score, let me tell you, we still have hope. It's kind of like at the end of a relationship, like a romantic relationship, when you're screaming at each other, you still want the relationship. It's when people stop talking that you're like about to break up, you know, when you just like don't even care anymore. So when there's no participation at all and people are quitting, like things are bad. But like if you get a super nasty negative score, it's not that employees are personally upset with you. In fact, I always was like, oh, thank God the HR leader's sending a survey. Oh, I can't wait to score it terrible. I know a lot of leaders that I talk to are like, oh my gosh, we got such awful scores. And I'm like so depressed. I'm like, no. This is a good thing. It's a good sign. It's always darkest before the dawn. Keep going. This is an indicator that like your people still have hope and they want to work here. So don't make the mistake of taking it so personal. In my community, I have a resource that, you know, if an executive is ever like, why are scores so negative? I thought that's why I hired you. What's wrong with you? I've been there. I've seen these interactions happen. And it's the executive projecting their fear of failure onto you. And, you know, you don't deserve that. But there's also a way to put a positive spin on it and be like, yeah, I need more resources, old buddy, old pal. I want to partner with you to get to the long-term scalable success of this business. So let's work together. And, you know, I have lots of ideas for optimization. And you're going to get those ideas from your actual engagement surveys and use the things that your employees tell you, make them upset. We'll get to that episode next week, but negative eNPS scores mean that your employees are still fighting for the relationship to work, right? Does that make sense? So negative 100 to 0, you've got significant disengagement and a lot of malfunction across teams. So just meet with your head executive ASAP and talk about the long-term impact that this has on revenue. But do not let anyone gaslight you into thinking that this is all your fault and all your problem and what is wrong with you. No. Those are just the corporate silly psychological games that are played. And if you're nice and you have empathy, you can accidentally believe them. So don't believe them. Any score from 0 to 30, there's room for improvement, but you're kind of at like the baseline, but it's probably not enough for long-term success. Any scores from 30 to 70, you have healthy satisfaction and most of your employees are happy and likely to stay, but there's still room for improvement if you really want to get there to achieve your company goals and et cetera, et cetera. And then 70 to 100, man, you are really cranking over there. Whatever you're doing, you're probably really good at listening to your employees. But if you get a high eNPS score and you also have a ton of turnover, like above 30 or 40%, and your revenue isn't growing, like your company's not making as much money as it was supposed to, you're not opening more locations like you were supposed to, but you have super high eNPS, that tells me your employees are scared and they just want to be left alone and they're just like trying to float under the radar before they can find a new job and quit. So if you have high eNPS and other business metrics are also tracking as positive, then that's good. But if other business metrics are not matching how happy everyone allegedly is, I would completely burn everything down and get with your executives and be like, hey, at the next all hands, we need to make sure there's enough psychological safety and like encourage people to just know that these are super anonymous and maybe everybody is happy, but we've got to get more systematized, or like the managers need more training, or like why are we not hitting our revenue targets? Why are we not growing? Why are we shrinking? So eNPS is just a check engine light. It's not going to tell you exactly what's busted, but it's something you need. It's a data point to point to when executives are like, we're going to grow, we're going to scale, we're going to push everyone harder. You can say, hold on, hold the phone, let me into this meeting. And you wedge your foot in the door and you're like, I got my data. If you keep pushing like this, we are just forecasted for a ton of turnover. Look at how upset everyone already is. You know, we need to get to the root of what people need and make sure that our existing employees are having a good employee experience before we bring in more people and this thing spins even more out of control, which nobody wants. when you want to drive participation, make sure you just tell employees the why. A lot of times I talk to HR leaders and they're like, we only got 40% survey participation. And I say, well, how did you announce it? And it's basically, oh, I just told them to take the survey. Well, it's the same with how I get my kids to brush their teeth. Nobody likes to be told what to do. They like to be told what's in it for them. So when I tell my kids, go brush your teeth, they're like, no. But if I tell them, hey, go brush your teeth so you don't get cavities and then you don't have a shot in your mouth and then a drill put in your tooth and I'm holding your hand while you cry silent tears because you're in a ton of pain, I don't want that for you. Go brush your teeth. So there's no fear mongering to be done here, but there is some truth to be told to executives and then to employees and managers. Like for employees, it's, hey, I'm not asking you the same question over and over again because I've missed your first answer. I am benchmarking how we're doing over time on behalf of you and giving you a better employee experience. So please take this survey so that we can see how we're doing as an organization. And like, we need this data. Otherwise, we don't know how we're doing. For managers, use managers as an extension of you. You don't have to be the only one shouting from the rooftops to take a survey. Your managers need to be reminded, hey, tell your team to take the survey. On the other side of this data is a more productive team when we can continually get to the root of how we're doing, which is the eNPS survey, and what we can do better, which is all your other surveys where people fall apart and tell you all the crazy, nasty drama tea on what daily life is like so that you can fix it. And then for your executives, if they're like, don't send a survey, well, first of all, you can't do your job with two hands tied behind your back. No wonder you can't figure out how to drive engagement because the answers lie with your people. And if you can't send surveys, then you're not allowed to talk to your people, essentially. And then people just quit. And then you're being stuck with the guilt of turnover and you're not being invited into executive meetings and you can't sleep at night because no one's listening to you. But it's your magical gift of empathy that you know something's not right. Like you deserve to be taken seriously and for the executives to see your empathy and your qualitative nature of people's feelings to be seen as a superpower to the C-suite decision-making process. And we're going to get you there. So if you aren't sending this eNPS survey, it's a great chance to have a discussion with your executive. They probably have a fear of failure. You really want to get to know them and, relationship build with them and figure out what do they care about, what keeps them up at night. They're going to talk about revenue. They're going to talk about customer growth. And you're going to be like, oh my God, you're so obsessed with yourself and money. But their job is very visible and high pressure. So of course they care about those things. Otherwise they wouldn't have a job. And when you can position what you're doing as a solution to their problems, hey, yeah, I care about those metrics too. The people who are responsible for those metrics being hit are the revenue drivers. We got to ask them how they're doing so that we can better equip everyone and better forecast turnover and like how we're doing and make sure everyone has what they need so that they don't quit or quiet quit because that is expensive for the business. So get really clear on who you're talking to and don't just tell them stuff like what's in it for you. Think about what's in it for them, and it will completely change the way people perceive you, and you're going to realize life is a video game, and corporate's actually not that hard once you understand these basic rules of psychology. So eNPS is your simple benchmarking survey. You got to do it so that you have some idea of how you're tracking over time. But it's not going to tell you exactly what's wrong. And in the following weeks, we're going to talk about engagement and all the other surveys. So for now you know your eNPS and you are all ready to go with that. And if you ever have questions, join my community engagement academy or send me a message on LinkedIn. My favorite thing to do is for someone to say, oh my God, we just sent a survey and like, it's really bad. And I go, oh, no. This is exciting. Your workforce wants to talk to you. And I, as the third party, get to read all the tea and help you decipher what employees are actually saying because I'm actually super great at it because I lived it and I've studied the topic like I don't even know how many years now. So if you ever need help, just reach out to me. You're doing great. We need you. Employees don't hate you. It's not personal. We are hoping that you take our answers and help us have a better employee experience. And we're like trusting you. It's a noble cause. You, my friend, are going to rise to the occasion, and I can't wait to hear about it either way. So there you go. eNPS. Have a great week. Make sure you drink water and take a break. Don't work yourself to death. Have a conversation with an old friend. Your whole value is not tied into your job, although we can get sucked into the matrix, and I did many times. So just make sure that you're taking time to check in with yourself and tell yourself that you're enough because you are. Okay? I love you. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.